What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel. My name is Sam. I'm a Hornets fan. Thank you for kicking it with me as we talk basketball, Hornets basketball specifically. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my confidence in every single player on the team. This isn't a ranking of who the best player on the team is. It's about my confidence in them as a fan watching these games almost on a nightly basis. Speaking of, I wanted to wait until there were a few games behind us, so we had a decent sample size and have a solid base to talk about things. As I'm recording this, it's November 13th. The Charlotte Hornets are 4-7, just lost to Orlando last night, have Milwaukee on Saturday in the afternoon, so that's going to be interesting watching college football and that at the same time. But we move. Before I go any further, quick reminder, I do a podcast, a weekly podcast with James Plowright on the Charlotte Hornets on SI Feed. The YouTube link is in the description. The feed link is in the description. Go check it out. New episode just went out yesterday as I'm recording this. So give that a listen. Give that a watch. Again, link in the description. 1 to 18. Number 1 being the player I have the most confidence in on a nightly basis. Number 18 is the player I have the least confidence in. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying if I put a player number 1, I don't expect him to drop 30 points every night. I expect that person. It's about my confidence in them to do what they do best. It's about how often they deliver on what they're about, what they're advertised to be, right? Holding them against their own standards, not standards of like a 2K overall or something like that, right? So let's start at the bottom and work our way up. I feel like that's the best way to do it. End on a high, or at least we'll get better as we go along here. Number 18, Mark Williams. Mark Williams. When is this guy going to play basketball again? Maybe soon, maybe later, but until he suits up for the Charlotte Hornets, he's going to remain in the 18th spot. I have some serious concerns about how long this has been going on, this foot injury. We all know about the back injury. And then when he does play, what's he going to look like? You know what I mean? What's it going to look like? They talked about him bouncing back and having no residual effects from the back injury from last year. He was meant to come into this season as a new man. You know what I mean? We'll see. He's last. Moving on, 15, 16, 17, we're going KJ Simpson, Jared Rhoden, Daquan Jeffries in that order. KJ Simpson above them because he was the one that was drafted in the most recent draft class and a player I was pretty high on. Coming out of college, I have high hopes for him eventually. His time will come eventually. But for now, very limited action from all three of these guys. Zero action from Jeffrey. So he's right there with Mark Williams as the only 2 rostered players that haven't touched the floor for Charlotte at all this year. With all the injuries, with Bridges, Williams, and Richards out, and the fact the Hornets are keeping Jeffries on the roster when they need some help in the front court is wild to me. But it speaks to the performances of some guys who've been stepping up that I'll get to later in this list. Vasilije Micic up next, all right? We're in the territory of guys that have been playing, and Micic, ironically, hasn't been playing, right? We saw 3 games out of him, and then he missed like 6 or something straight for good reason. They got him in the second row of the bench. Micic this year has been terrible, like terrible. And I want to give him some leeway because he had an Olympic run. He's an older player, right? I want to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to just being ready to go when the season starts. But the preseason was awful for him, like awful. And it continued into the regular season, which you don't want to see that. It's a bad look. I wasn't the biggest fan of him last year as a shooter, especially. I've been saying and screaming, Vasa needs to pasa the ball. And now he's chilling. He got back into the game. He found himself into the rotation last night against Orlando with 13 and a half minutes, basically. You know what I mean? Like, what you going to do? What are you going to do? He's here for a reason, and I don't think he'll be here for very long. There's all the reports about him wanting to go to Denver to play with Jokic, which is completely understandable. I don't fault the man at all for trying to play with his countrymen and probably the best player in the NBA. Like, it makes sense. But for us, for Hornets fans, like, come on, dog. Like, come on, man. Like, we need you. Like, my guy's plus minus last night was minus 10 in 13 something minutes. Like, that's not going to get it done. So Nick Smith Jr., who I always feel an attachment towards, because my real last name is Smith, so I have a bias towards any and all Smiths out there. All right, I'm rooting for you, and that plus the fact that he was a first round draft pick, a former top high school recruit, and moments last year where we saw him really flash. I have high hopes for him. Hasn't had a lot of opportunity this year. He only really played when Seth Curry was hurt or in a blowout. Love to see that change. You know what I mean? Love to see Nick Smith Jr. out there. But when he's out there, of all the guys I listed, I have the most confidence in him of doing something positive. So I hope Nick Smith Jr. gets more run, and I hope it's not when someone's hurt or being rested and not in instances where the Hornets are getting blown out. Like, that'd be ideal. Up next, Tidjane Salaun. I love watching him play because you never know what's going to happen. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. You know he's going to bust his ass. Like, he's going to work hard any and every time he's out there. That's guaranteed, locked in. With turnovers or some maybe suspect shot attempts, that's part of the package for now. But when he's out there, my boy crashes the boards hard, and he can make a shot, all right? I think for it to be, like 8 games in his NBA career, he missed the first couple of games of the season. He didn't play in the first couple of games of the season. At this stage, he's playing way more than I expected. Like, way, way more than I expected at this stage of things. Like, I fully expected what we're seeing now to be happening in January, February, not in November. So I think that speaks to how highly Charles Lee views him. We'll see how he continues to run. Like, he may end up in Greensboro after this extended look, which would be a shame and a disappointment. But the fact he's going 17 minutes a night this early is crazy. And again, I guess the injuries do play a part in that, not having Bridges, right? We've seen him start a couple nights, which probably not the best idea. I mean, like, while Bridges is out, Grant Williams should start. Like, Tidjane Salaun here for it, but not like this. The Charlotte Hornets have been pretty bad in first quarters, especially compared to what they do in late game situations. They gotta start with the best players available, and I think we're seeing that, right, with Grant Williams finally starting, with Bridges being out. But I love the look. I love the runway they're giving Tidjane Salaun, who personally wasn't a big fan of the selection. It's not a secret. Was not a fan of the selection on draft night. Not a fan of the selection during summer league. But from preseason on, like, I put some money on Salaun for rookie of the year after preseason. So I'm like literally bought in. $5 bought in, but bought in just a little bit. Going to the other end of the age spectrum, Taj Gibson, my man. All right, look, when they signed Taj, I was like, you know what? This guy will never play. He's there for vibes. He's there for practice, for toughness, for veteran leadership, etc. But with Richards and Williams out, Taj Gibson has not only been playing, but starting. Should he start continuing like from here on out? We're going to talk about another center later who maybe should get some looks at the starting spot while Richards and Williams are out. But Gibson, while out there, you know, it's fine. It's fine. Like, it's fine. It's fine. And for a 40-year-old guy, it's fine. I mean, he's not 40 yet. I shouldn't put that on him. He's 39. But through the pick and rolls and being a lane presence for rebounding and contesting shots, it's fine. Like, so here, for what he is, this is where I go back to the premise of this thing. I'm not saying Taj Gibson is the 11th best player on the team. I'm saying I have that much confidence. I have more confidence in Taj Gibson to be Taj Gibson on a nightly basis than Salaun to be Salaun or Nick Smith Jr. to be Nick Smith Jr., right? At this stage. We're going to do this on a regular basis, so I'll be updating this as we go along, and we kind of track where guys rise and fall throughout the season. But this is where I am right now on my guy, Taj Gibson, who apparently his nicknames are Hard Hat and Lunch Pail. Here for it. Suited. Up next at 10, number 10, Josh Green. First season here in Charlotte has been fine, just okay. And for me, in the context of this list, right, Josh Green being out there, I would rather have Josh Green out there than Gibson, Salaun, Nick Smith Jr., Micic, etc., all the way down. But it's really difficult when you look at his box scores on a nightly basis because they're basically empty, right? There's not a lot there. And that's kind of the point. That's kind of who he is. He's not a box score guy. He's a flow of game guy. He's a workhorse type of guy. And that stuff's important because he does work hard on a nightly basis. I wish he was way more aggressive. Like way more aggressive. My man played almost 30 minutes last night and took one shot. That's not good enough, man. That's not good enough. Not good enough. Can we get that to 5 at least? At least. It was one shot last night, 3 field goal attempts against Philly, 2 against Indiana, 4 against Detroit. Not good enough, Josh. Not good enough. Especially for a guy who can operate under a good efficiency. With guys being out, there's points available, right? I know LaMelo's taking a lot of shots a game, as deserved as he should. But somebody else has to step up. And Josh Green, with his experience, being an older player, coming off a finals run, I expect a little more. Need a little more. Because I see Cody Martin, who we're going to talk about in a bit, as a more positive piece out there. Number 9, Seth Curry. All right, I'm glad the Hornets kept him, right? I'm glad they worked it out after the release to bring him back because he was key early in the season, man. He was starting for this team. Didn't expect that from him early on, but Brandon Miller being out, you got to adjust, right? My viewpoint on Seth is you go to him, see if he has it. If it's not there, you move on. So that's why he's here for me, because I look at him as a pull the lever type of guy. Run out Seth, let him get a shot up. Get him a couple shots up and see where he's at. With Seth, my mind and my eyes go straight to field goal attempts, or specifically 3-point attempts on a nightly basis. Game by game. 3 attempts, then 7, then 6, then 2, then 2, then 1, then 2, then 0, then 4, and then 1. I would love for them to find a happy medium with his volume attempts, or with his attempts per game, right? And if he hasn't, let him run. But you have other shooters on the team that you can go to, theoretically, right? If Seth doesn't have it that night. Because early on in the season, when he was starting and getting a lot of run, he was really thriving in that mix, and we haven't really seen it since. You know what I mean? Like, going 2 of 7 a couple nights ago, like, that's the best it's been since basically Brandon Miller's been back. So when Seth is out there, I do have confidence in him. When that first attempt, I feel like he's going to make his first attempt night in, night out. But if it doesn't go in, so far at least, it's been trending towards the other way, where he doesn't have it that night and probably not going to have it that evening. But at least he's taking shots, Josh Green. You know what I mean? At least he's taking shots. Josh, shoot the ball more, dog. Shoot the ball more, please. Miles Bridges at number 8. All right. His season so far, I think, has been less than what you would expect from a guy who just got a fat contract. Like, I don't expect Bridges to do what he did against Detroit every night. He was like 27 and 7. He was like 57% from the field. Incredible game. Perfect from the free throw line, 9 of 9. Love that. If 80% of that is what I need from Miles Bridges, what this team needs from Miles Bridges. And it's been really 50-50 with him on which version you're going to get. Because he's had those types of games in the past, right? Was Atlanta. He had a really nice game. But it's really been like this. Like, it's been like the Kelly Oubre era when you don't really know what version of Bridges you're going to get on a nightly basis. For me to put him higher on this list, I need him to level out so we know what Bridges we're getting, right? The athleticism hadn't been there all season. It finally shows up and then he gets hurt. So that is not a good sign for a guy who's in his upper 20s, right? So for now, he's at 8. We'll see how he goes. He's probably going to drop as the season goes on while he's hurt until he proves that he can be more consistent as a real third option for this team. Because LaMelo needs some help, dog. Like, LaMelo needs a lot of help right now. He's doing a lot right now, and it's not sustainable. More on that later. Number 7, Nick Richards. This is brutal. All right, we're keeping the injured guys next to each other for now. Richards, in my opinion, before he went down, before he got hurt, was the 3rd best player on this team. Like, for me, it was LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Nick Richards. Not including the game he got hurt in. Nick Richards was averaging a double-double. This guy was stepping up in a massive way. You can still count on him for a goaltend or a bad screen. Like, that's locked in. You're going to get that every night. But the effort, the rebounding, especially the effort on the glass, he was one of the main reasons why they're cooking on the offensive boards. Richards was killing it, man. Like fully killing it. The rim protection was there. Like he became like a fully realized 7-footer just at the start of the year. It's only a few games, but him being out, dog, like it sucks. It's really brutal. And this is the same guy who was the worst starting center in the NBA last year. The worst. For him to go down during the redemption arc, brutal. I didn't plan it this way. It just worked out this way, that Tre Mann is at number 6, all right? 6th man, Trey I, whatever you want to put on him. This dude has been a revelation. Like, Trey's come down to earth a little bit after his great start, where he was like 14-plus points a game for the first few games, and then it's kind of on a slow decline from a scoring point of view. But I think it's not going anywhere. It's just a quick pause in it, right? At least I hope so, because I put money on him for a 6th man. Just, you know what I mean? Just a little flyer on Tre Mann. Before this recent dip, like Tre was a super electric scorer, man, at all levels. Truly like the perfect replacement for, not a replacement, perfect sub in this rotation. Yeah. And our version of Malik Monk or Jordan Clarkson or like whomever, like Tyler Hero that one year where Miami were or just cheesing the 6th man competition to get him that award. You know, they're running plays for him. They're running ISOs for him. There's a lot of faith in Tre Mann, and it's really dope. And I'm really rooting for him because his success means Hornet success, right? But it also means he's going to get paid. And I always want these guys to get paid whenever they can. So Tre Mann in a contract year, bit of a dip recently, but when he's out there, I believe good things are going to happen more often than not. And that's why he's 6th. So let's get into the top 5. Okay, number 5, Grant Williams. So real quick, let me get the negative stuff out the way. It's weird. The weird stuff continues with him, man. Like the weird stuff, I don't like it. I don't like what he does at the free throw line, how he makes out with the basketball. I hate that. I hate how he yells out, "Ball don't lie," when someone misses a free throw. I hate that he tried to tackle Jason Tatum and got kicked out the game. Hate that stuff. Hate it. What I do like is his Swiss Army knife usage, okay? Small ball 5, bench 4, starting 4. He has been a positive contributor in those roles, in those many different roles so far. And with Mark Williams out, Nick Richards out, Miles Bridges out, really looking towards Grant Williams to contribute, to make up for those deficits, right? So we're talking really last couple of games, 17 points, 15 points each, like in those games on good percentages, over 40% for both nights, right? The rebounding is like decent. It's not great. Is decent, but really it's the defense with him and to be that main guy. And when he's out there with the Diabate or Tidjane Salaun, you gotta, like, Grant has to really operate the paint. You know what I mean? Has to really operate the paint in an effective way, because those other guys may not make the best decisions defensively nightly, and that's on Grant. Grant's not perfect. Again, there was a point the other night, I think it was against Indiana, where a missed free throw turned into a fast break because Grant Williams didn't pick up the other team center. That stuff ain't good. That's not good. You expect more out of Grant Williams. But for what he brings, I feel confident Grant Williams being at least, at minimum, a competent defensive player. At minimum. A guy with a shot, a guy that can operate. I'm here for it. I'm here for it for now. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but for me, he's a player I have the 5th most confidence in so far this season. Top 4 time, Cody Martin, number 4. Speaking of versatile players, it's kind of criminal Cody Martin hasn't started a game since Josh Green has been around. So, as you know, watching this team, they've been really poor in first quarters. And it's time to shake it up. It's time to shake this thing up. And Cody Martin is a player that can start games and finish games. He's been finishing games. He's been out there in crunch time over Josh Green. Maybe it's time to flip the two and run Cody in the beginning and at the end, and just fill in the gaps. Just to give it a look, see how that feels, see how that looks. You know what I mean? Because Cody, now that he's healthy, has been the effective, quality role player this roster has been missing for the last 2 years. A guy that can guard multiple positions, play multiple positions, and be a productive, like a fully well-rounded NBA basketball player. Like Cody Martin, the basketball player, I have all the faith in the world in. That's why he's fourth on my list. And again, my favorite quality of Cody Martin is that he gets it. This guy gets it. He understands he's a role player. He understands where he fits into the grand scheme of things. And the fact that this man has never, ever taken more than 13 shots in an NBA game is admirable. Considering he's been on some really bad teams, on some really bad nights, and he had plenty of opportunity to get up 13 shots. The most he's done. He did 11 twice this year. That's it. That's it. He keeps it humble. My guy Cody, here for it. So glad he's healthy because he's needed, badly needed, and should start. He should be starting. He's already closing. He should be starting. Number 3, Brandon Miller. All right, again, this is my list of guys I'm most confident in to be themselves right now based off what we've seen so far this season. Through 11 games as of November 13th. Yeah. Brandon Miller hasn't been Brandon Miller, right? He has not been the guy we saw last year, and it's fine. And it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It will come in time. Maybe it's the injury. Maybe it's getting used and learning to play next to LaMelo Ball, who's taking a lot of shots, right? Maybe it's a rhythm thing. I don't know. I think it'll figure itself out in time. But for now, I'm putting Brandon Miller third because I mean there's a couple other players I expect to deliver to their best abilities above Brandon right now, because Brandon is having a rough go this season, man. A really rough go. Last couple nights, 3 of 11 from 3, 1 of 11 last night. Like shot 16% last night, 44% the previous night. He's on what? Like 32% from 3 on the season. The field goal percentage on the season is 38. It's tough. It's a tough start. And I know he's going to get himself out of it. I'm not worried about it at all. Brandon Miller is the second best player on this team, no doubt about it. All right? It's just a little rough start. I got to knock him, got to drop him a little bit because I think other players deserve the first and second spots over him. Any guesses? Any guesses? There's a very big name missing. You probably know where he's going. But that number 2 spot, by process of elimination, it's appropriate too, the number 2, in a second. Moussa Diabate. Let's go. Number 2, at number 2, the two-way star, the two-way player. I mean, he's a two-way contract guy. He's not really a two-way player. You know what I mean, though. You know what? Unless he's dunking, he's all right. He's all right, man. He's all right, boy. All right. Let me calm down. Again, this list is based off today, what they're doing today, based off what they are and who they are as players. Moussa Diabate being a two-way guy that's putting up the craziest rebounding numbers that one could ever expect from a guy on a two-way contract, right? He's on 13 rebounds a night the last 3 games. 15 boards, 11 boards, 15 boards. The last 3 games, Diabate is averaging 27 minutes a night, and his plus minus is 8. It's because he's busting his ass, hustling, running pick and rolls, rim running, blocking shots, grabbing rebounds. This is what you want. This is the perfect, like, what I just described is the perfect, like, archetype or, like, checklist or list of requirements that you want from a rotation big. And Diabate is delivering that and more so far. The touch is a bit of an L, all right? The touch around the rim is a bit of an L unless he's dunking. I'll concede that. That's fine. That's fine. As long as he's hustling, contending shots, and grabbing boards, here for it. Absolutely here for it. So that's what I mean when I say confidence chart. When he's out there, while Miller is in this shooting slump, I have no doubt Diabate. I have more confidence in Diabate of being Moussa Diabate than Brandon Miller being the Brandon Miller we know right now. Again, it'll change, but this is where I'm at. Shout out to Moussa, man. And he's been a gem, an absolute gem. A gem in the sense of a two-way guy delivering, but really one of the shining stars of the season so far. And when Richards and Williams get back, I really hope he doesn't lose any minutes. I don't know how they're going to fit him into the rotation when Williams and Richards are in the mix. Plus, my man won the tip You know what I mean? After that LaMelo steal against Philly, right? The controversial steal, that jump ball against Kelly Oubre, Diabate won that. Come on, man. Give Moussa some run. Give him some love. Charles Lee. Let's see Diabate start again. Let's run it. To the surprise of nobody, LaMelo Ball, #1 Hornet, I'm the most confident in on a nightly basis through 11 games as of November 13th. This man is playing out of his mind. He's finally healthy. He's finally avoiding foul trouble, and he's cooking everybody. It's a W. It's an awesome thing to see. It's really great to see. We all know what he's been doing in the fourth quarter. It has been immaculate. It's been insane. You know what I mean? But what I'm worried about is nothing on him. It's just how can he keep this up? It's not fair for LaMelo Ball to have to do this every single night. It's not sustainable. It just isn't. And Brandon Miller, Grant Williams, Tre Mann, I'm looking at y'all, Cody Martin, where applicable, Josh Green, if he shoots the ball, please. Need to help this man out. While Bridges, while Williams and Richards are out, you gotta help this guy out. Got to. Last 3 games, LaMelo Ball, 28.7 shot attempts per game, 16 3 attempts per game. I'm not knocking him at all. I'm just pointing out that this man is doing everything he can to keep this team in the mix. And he needs some help. Somebody has to step up and help this man out. You can't do it every night by himself. You can't. But I've been fully impressed by LaMelo. This is what we saw right before he got hurt the first time last year, ironically in Orlando. Things don't go well for the Hornets in Orlando. Maybe it's the theme song. I don't know. But since that injury, we haven't seen LaMelo play like this until now. And boy, it's fun. So that's my list for now. I'm going to do more of these videos. I'm going to do these videos on a regular basis. Probably this type of video every 10 games-ish or so, especially when there's a lull, a few nights off in the schedule. But largely, you know what I mean? Largely, this team has been really impressive the way they fight and compete. The slow starts, the rough starts to games, the rough starts to halves. You got to fix that. Speaking of things that are non-sustainable, it's great that you're able to find a way to fight out of a hole, but you can't do that every night. You can't. The burnout's going to be crazy. You know what I mean? You got to find that balance. You got to figure out a combination of players that can keep things more regulated and have positive beginnings to quarters and halves. That's my thing. That's just me. That's my hope as a fan. I know Charles Lee's trying to figure this out. While there's major front court injuries, having Grant Williams start, Cody Martin start, and Diabate start could be a vibe along with LaMelo and Brandon Miller. That's the lineup I want to see if there are no changes on the injury front between now and Saturday when they play the Bucks. That'll be who I roll out against the Bucks. And I want to see Diabate versus Giannis. Give it to me. I want to see it. Let me see Diabate lock up, clamp up Giannis. Easy. And you got Grant Williams over there too. Come on. But that'll do it for me. Reminder, my podcast with James Plowright, Charlotte Hornets on SI Podcast. Link in the description for the audio and the video. Keep it locked here. Make sure you make sure you subscribe to this channel. And let me know who you have the most confidence in at this stage of the Hornet season. With not including LaMelo Ball, because that's obvious, right? LaMelo, best player on the team, playing the best out of anybody. All the confidence in the world. I don't want anyone else shooting on this team that's not LaMelo Ball. Know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm at. Root it. That's what I mean by confidence. Let me know who you're most confident in on this team, besides LaMelo, in the comments on Twitter @SamDracula. But until next time, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.